Hi everybody, it's Vicki Hinze. Today in the author-to-author chat, I thought what we would talk about is a question that you've written to me actually a couple of times recently. Not really enough to qualify as a cluster, but enough to respond to in this little video. The question centers around blogging and doing writers' articles and writers' videos, sort of like this one, but a little more on the craft and on having a writers group and writers list. I've been asked several times lately, why do you do this? Well, I started writing back in 1980, whatever. I don't even remember anymore. I didn't know another writer. And very often I would have questions and I would spend days researching to find the answer. And they were simple questions. It wasn't like it is today, back then, where you had the internet. It meant going to the library, looking for resources, looking it up, or asking another writer if you were lucky enough to know any. We live in a relatively small town, and I didn't know any other writers when I started writing. So it was complex and frustrating and irritating. And as I said, I would spend days looking for answers to questions that were so basic and so simple. So I decided back then that if I ever learned anything about this business, I would gladly share what I learned to spare other writers from going through all of that frustration and irritation that I went through. I do want to say that along the way, I was fortunate enough to meet some really fabulous people, one of whom was Nina Coombs Parker, and I will forever be grateful to Nina. I always, in my mind, whenever I write something, I say, what would Nina think about this? Because she bled red on everything that I wrote. I mean, I would get stuff back and swear no one pen could hold that much red ink. But in doing that, she taught me so much. And I've been forever grateful about that and grateful for it and for her. There have been many others along the way. And you'll find your others too. And I hope that in doing the blogs and doing the Writer's Zone and creating and maintaining the Writer's Library and answering your questions via email, and all of those things, doing the articles that I do and just all of the projects, my special projects, that in a way I'll be your Nina. I do want to say one of the questions that comes up repeatedly and has for years on this. I started doing all this stuff back in the early 90s when I started getting a grip on things. As I would get a grip on them, I would write about them and share what I had learned, the information that I had gleaned. And a question that has come up many times through these 2 decades is, does it translate to book sales? The answer is no. I have people who have been on my Writer's Zone, which was AIDS for Writers, which was a one list and was a group email long before it was a one list, before those kinds of things were available, much less Twitter and Facebook and all of the networking sites that are out there now. Back then there was nothing. And I have people who have been with me all these years, through the 2 decades, and now we're beyond that, although I don't really remember exactly how far beyond it. I know that's terrible, but it's true. But anyway, they've never read my books. They read everything that I write about writing. They read all of the how-tos. They read all of the articles. They read all of the posts, the general posts that I do. Stay in the writer's library for hours on end, but they have never read a Vicki Hinze novel or one of the novels that I put out under one of my pseudonyms. They just don't read my books. That's not an uncommon thing. In fact, before I started this today, I talked to another author about it because she too does a lot of articles and how-tos and that sort of thing to help aspiring writers and new writers, and even published writers who are having trouble with a specific novel element. And she has run into that same experience. So, the important thing is to get to your motivation for doing what you're doing. We all only have so many hours in a day, and every project that you take on takes away from writing time where you could be producing a project that you then can market. So don't be blind to those things and don't ignore your physical limitations. Believe it or not, no matter how good we are, none of us are Superwoman or Superman, and we all only have so much time to devote to each project. So, what I would recommend you do is make sure that your projects count to you. My goal was to help spare other writers the frustrations that I experienced. I'm doing that. My goal, if it were to sell books, would be to focus on the books. So that is a goal, but it is a separate goal that I have for one of my other hats. That's my writer's hat. My writer's hat, left and right, I guess you would say. The point is know why you're doing what you're doing. If your goal is to use articles to sell books, don't. It doesn't work. You will have people who read your books that are not interested in writing and never will be interested in writing or in how to craft a novel. On the other hand, you'll have writers who are eager to learn everything that you're willing to teach them, but have absolutely zero interest in ever reading your books. It does not translate that in order for you to be able to do the teaching and the mentoring and the articles, you have to sell books. That's how you earn your living. For some reason, that gets lost in the translation, and it doesn't equalize out on the scales. So, if you're doing articles for the joy of doing articles, if you're doing articles to help spare others the frustrations you went through, if you're writing articles for some other reason, do it. It's a wonderful thing. It's a way of giving back and paying it forward. If you're considering writing articles and doing how-tos on writing or craft or the business articles for the purpose of selling your fiction, don't bother. It's not going to happen. It just doesn't translate. And that's the message for today. I hope that it's been of help to you. I'm sorry that it's not more uplifting news, or that I can't tell you, well, absolutely everyone who reads your writing articles is going to rush out and buy your novels. But that's not the case. The people who read your articles very often don't rush out and buy your writing books, even though they like your writing articles. So have other motivations or spend your time elsewise. That's the advice for today, author to author. I hope you have a great day. Blessings. Bye.